Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Debbie and I'm a mixed media artist, and today I'd like to talk about my winter palette that has sort of evolved by itself. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but here we are, and I actually have 4 distinct colors that are occurring again and again and again in my work. So I thought I would share them with you so you can find them as well if you like them. Before we get into that, let's do the housekeeping. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, the usual thing. I think most of you know what happens on YouTube now, but it really does help my channel if you just leave me a like, if that's all you've got the time to do. But it's so appreciated. And if you like what you see here and would like to see me using these colours a lot more, then do consider joining my Patreon. All of the details are in the description box. And any questions, just let me know. But I teach art on my Patreon, and it's 3 tutorials a week, and it's €10 or thereabouts per month. This will vary depending on where you are, but you know how it goes. Right, let's get back into it now. So I use most of the colours most of the time. I love things like that. And yet there have been 4 colours that have become quite dominant in just about everything I've done this year. Now, I'm filming this in January 2026. So if you're watching in the future, or indeed the past, I'm not judging, you may be time travelling the other way, then you will you'll be able to sort of place it. And I'm in Northern Europe, so these colours are quite relevant to where I am here. You can already see a bit of a hint here on what colours are going to come first. There are 4 colour groups. There are golds, there are browns, there are purples and greens. Now, the first question that you might ask is, what about white? What about blue? Even when I'm painting things that probably should have white or blue in them, I tend not to use those colours very much. So as a stand-in for blue, I'll often go with a grey. And speaking of greys, the colour that ties everything together and makes it quite wintry is in fact the grey group. And I've got a couple of special greys that I reach for again and again. And this is not supposed to be about what I would like to use. This is this video is about what I reach for time and time again. So let me just see if I can open this without actually knocking the camera. This is something I was doing last night. It's a collage and watercolor. Well, it's mixed media actually. It's mixed media in every sense of the word. Just sort of playing with things. And once again, the same colours have cropped up. So you can see in here these golds, gold glazing on here. You can see purples, you can see greens, and all sorts of things like that, browns and what have you. So what I thought I would do is swatch them, like I said, so you can find them too if you like them. And if I can find an example of, wait a second, let me just get rid of that for a sec, just in case we need it again. Here's another sketchbook that I've been working in lately. I really like to use warm colours in my winter scenes, and I'm not sure if there is, yeah, there are some snow scenes in here. As you can see, there are just I do use some white, and I have used white, but it's actually more grey than anything else. But there is purple and there's green, and of course purple, green and gold. It's pretty obvious in this example here. Bit of blue here, but that's actually really rare for me. This one here, for example, this is how I would tackle a snow scene. So a lot of grey, it's a lot of moodiness, it's a nighttime picture, but bringing in these golds and browns and purples, and there is some green in here, little splashes of green. Then I've got this sort of apricot peachy colour which ties a few things together. So this is what is happening, as you can see from the examples that I've got here. The same thing is happening quite often. So let's start here with me putting my fingers in the pan pastel so much that I've now got to wipe my hand. That's absolutely normal, so do bear with. The first set is going to be the gold set. Which golds do I actually reach for? Now, I'm not going to put a list on here. For my Patreons, there'll be a print out PDF and I'll label it all. But everybody, I have a pencil ready. I will say the colours. So let's start with this little group here. This is all sorts. It's got some watercolour and, of course, some other bits and bobs as well. Let's start with the bits and bobs first, shall we? This one is Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2, and it is zinc ochre from the dark set. It's the 50th anniversary set that came out late summer, early autumn, I want to say, here in Europe, and to celebrate 50 years of Caran d'Ache products. Lots of mixed feelings about these. They have divided opinion for the simple reason that they've made an unequivocal statement that they're not going to release the colours in open stock. So again, question has been asked by me as well as everybody else, why develop them then? So, and of course, out of each Neocolor set, which had 10 pastels in there, there were only 2 new ones and the rest were all in open stock. We already had them, but we had to buy the set to get the 2 new ones. So, you know, some ill feelings have been generated, and I really don't think that it was unwarranted. So I hope Caran d'Ache listen to the criticisms and hear them and actually put these into open stock, because there are a couple of marvelous colours, and this is one of them. This is zinc ochre, so it qualifies in the gold. Gold is a funny colour because you could also agree that it's brown, but this one is zinc ochre and it's actually water soluble, but I don't use them as water soluble pastels in my work, which is why you see me not adding water here now. But as you can see, they smudge beautifully and it is a beautiful gold colour. The next one is Derwent Drawing, who have put their work into open stock. Thankfully, you can buy them in big sets. You can also buy them in open stock. This is part of the new colour release that came out again autumn time, early winter this year, or 2025. This one's Apricot, and I put this one into one of my favourite 5 videos as well, which is available on here because it is beautiful, and again, it hits that gold thing. You know what else it's hitting is the ribbon in my sketchbook here, the bookmark ribbon. It's a beautiful gold colour as well, and these colours really, really warm winter up. Don't ever think, and this is, you know, art teacher hat on, don't feel obliged to use cold colours just because it's cold outside. Because as you saw in that snow scene, you can see that's cold. It's very cold, but I've used warm colours. If you are attracted to warm colours, and that is a colour with more yellow dominance in it, then that's absolutely fine. It is your art journey. You don't have to use cold colours because it's winter, or warm colours because it's summer, by the way. Usually it seems to be the convention, but there are ways of incorporating your favourites into any season. So next of all, this is one of these weird apricot colours. This one's a Caran d'Ache burnt ochre 50%. So this is one of the ones that sort of bridge the whole lot together. And it works really, really well as a sort of a way between brown and gold. So I've included it in here because I reach for it an awful lot. The next one is a Derwent Inktense Mustard. Again, these are water soluble, of course, but you don't have to use them that way. And indeed, I don't. You can use them all sorts of ways. Sometimes I do, actually. I've got a soft sgraffito method that I've developed and that I use. And I do dissolve them then. But normally I don't. I just use them as pencils. You can rub them. Because there are so many layers of work, you know, that I work with, and some of them are waxy and things like that, when you put something else over the top of it, it completely changes the properties of that piece of material, and you can do different things with it. So, for example, if you were to put one of the Caran d'Ache Neo Arts down, or indeed Neocolor, and put an Inktense over the top, it will work slightly differently, and depending on how heavy you apply each one will depend on how it works. So you can, this is what I love about mixed media, is there are no rules. You can mix it all up beautifully. Right, into something that's a little bit more liquid and sort of close, so I've grabbed it, is my Pro Marker by Winsor & Newton, and this one is Yellow Ochre. I adore this marker, and I adore the colour. Now, please do not gasp audibly when I take the lid off, because you'll notice that the top is no longer as chisel-edged as it should be. I mean, look at that, it's ridiculous. However, it still works, and look at that colour. It is, actually I prefer it like this, you might be surprised to know. I bet you're not though, because people who have been doing art for a long time understand the value of a ruined brush for special effects. It is a fabulous colour for glazing, and it's second to none. If you've drawn a bird or an animal and it looks a bit flat and sadly lifeless, try glazing. It'll change your life. So that's that one. Then I have a Lyra brown ochre. Now the Lyra are a double-edged sword, as just the same as Tombows. I rarely use the little end, but sometimes I do. This is a slightly brownier version of my beloved gold. So yeah, that works really well as well. And finally, in this little bit here, this is a Staedtler pink pigment brush pen. These are permanent and light fast, and they are, you know, just, these are not permanent or light fast. They're water soluble, as are these. This one isn't. This one will go where you put it and stay there, and it'll also stain the paper in a way these others won't. So there's no moving this one, but it is a nice one. Again, it's a light glaze that I use. So this one is golden ochre. So as you can see, all of these goldy colours, they're really quite beautiful. Now, the next lot I'm going to put in are going to be pan pastels. This one is orange shade, and it also hits that gold requirement. The next one is raw sienna. It's another version of the same thing. And all of these mix together beautifully. And in fact, if you want to add great depth to what you're doing, sometimes layering, say for example, a forest where you've got different values, or you know, different lightnesses or darknesses, values of the same color, you can layer them over the top of each other. So if you were to create, say, a sky that was this color, and then put some of these over the top for the trees, you get this incredible depth and moodiness to your work, which is, it's really quite nice and quite powerful. And it's things like that that if you're not converted to mixed media already, that will generally do the job, because when you see what it can do, and you realize that if you're using a single medium and you've done all you can do, you have reached the outer limits of that medium. You either like your painting or you don't. And if you don't, there's only one or two things you can do with it, and one involves a bin. You can cut it up and make collage and things like that. But the point is, with mixed media, you then say, right, okay, this paper won't accept any more watercolor / colored pencil, whatever you're working in. However, it's absolutely fine with acrylic gouache or ink. We can start putting that on instead. We can glaze this. We can use an acrylic marker there. And all of a sudden, something that said, no, we're finished, you've done enough damage, I'm not accepting another layer. Oh, actually, no, I don't mind that. Yeah, I'll take some acrylic paint now. That'll be okay. And you keep going. And that's what I love about it. I have had a few paintings that really were just fit for the bin. And I thought, well, hey, I may as well have fun with this. And then I started throwing other things at it, quite literally sometimes, depending on how involved the tantrum became. And all of a sudden, no, this painting's actually okay. It just wasn't finished. And that's what really got me started with mixed media. Right, enough chat. Burnt sienna is the next one I've got. Again, it's a darker version of this same family of golds. And I put my thumb in. Honestly, I'm going to put the lid on it before I do some actual damage. I don't know what to, me or it or something. Pan pastel's not cheap, so hopefully it's not going to be to that. But I'm going to put the lid on it because it's about the 11th time that I've planted my thumb in it, which is really stupid, even for me. Right, coloured pen, not coloured pencil, this watercolour brush is what I meant to say. There are a couple of golds that stand out as being favourites, and number 1, 2, 3, 4, and even probably 5 on that list is Winsor & Newton Quin Gold. It's beautiful. When you know, you know. That is a wonderful colour. Even though this has gone a little bit sort of dull on the page, to be fair, this is a Hahnemuhle Nostalgia sketchbook, which is the one I reach for most. That was the Winsor & Newton one there, which has gone a little bit duller, but then I don't use that straight onto the paper. It's used as a glaze, which means it goes over a lot of other layers. When it's used as a glaze, it'll stay around this colour. So you could interchange these two. And by no means is this a call to arms where you have to go out and buy all of these. But of course, you can make that decision. The next colour I like on here very much is the Winsor & Newton Brown Ochre, which is another one that could cross over. You could argue, because of the name, that this is actually a brown. Could have done with some waking up before I started. But it also works as a dark gold, and therefore it's in this little group here. All of these colours, not yellow, not orange, but gold. Very, very important. I do know that if you squint in the right light, some of them are orange, some of them are brown. I get that. But used as a gold, they really, really, really brighten up a picture. And if you're painting winter, it's important. I have one further one. Would you believe me if I said I put my finger in another one of the pan pastels that's open? I don't know why I don't just sort of cut to the chase and just touch everything. Right, sorry about that. Normal service will now be resumed. The last one on my list is a Mugello Gold Ochre, and it's a gouache. Now, I use gouache very watered down, not at all like it's supposed to. I put it into palettes. I let it dry out. Do not let anybody tell you that you can't do this. Been doing it for ages. This one here, which is rather crumbly, I'm not going to lie, it's not fun to use, but if you put water on that, it will come back to life. It depends how you use the paint, but people will say to you that they spoil, they grow mould. Some do, but unless you're planning to lick it, don't lick your paint, by the way. The mould isn't going to hurt you terribly. Get rid of it and crack on. These paints come back to life again and again and again, and I paint what you've seen in my sketchbooks. So it doesn't worry me at all that they're dried. It depends how much additive they've got as to whether they will crack or not. Certain additives will keep them a bit more flexible, and that's very much appreciated if you are indeed a paint manufacturer and listening. Some of these have been in here exactly the same time. That one's a Talons one, and the other one here is a Holbein. So they have broken up rather badly, but like I said, they will come back to life, and they always do. So there will be people who say, don't do it, don't listen. Not unless they can back it up with a reasoned argument. Then of course listen. If we're getting new information, it's always worthwhile. But largely, I let them do their thing, and I just use them as I find them. Right, that's the gold section of my little winter colour map. So let us have a look at the next colour. Right, so the next colour family is going to be a cousin of this one, and that's going to be brown and dark browns especially. I do have a lot of tans and beiges and so forth, and they do come into winter as well. But ones that I'm reaching for an awful lot at the moment are darker browns, richer ones, and they do go with the other paler colours too. So let's just see where we get up to here. Let's start with Mars Black. Now, right off the bat, not black. It is black, and it's sort of black. I use it as a black, but in actual fact, it's a dark, dark brown as well. And if you burnish it with white, it's purple. So it's all things to everybody. And I love it because it is so rich. As you can see, it's more of a rich purpley brown, which plays into this colour palette perfectly. So that one. Next coloured pencil is, oh, and of course it's a Derwent Lightfast. So I'm sorry. Mars Black by Derwent Lightfast. And it's lovely. Creamy, beautiful, easy to use. Goes over things that you wouldn't think it would go over. It even goes over wax pastels and things like that. So always a bonus. This one is Raw Umber by Caran d'Ache Luminance range. And this one is a lot sort of lighter, but also very nice and good for winter. All of these colours are colours, I mean, you've got to paint what you're seeing. And paint your area if you are a person who paints only on plein air. I'm a studio painter, so I like my photos. I like stuff that I can sit in my studio, control conditions, and paint what I feel like. So this might be a beach in the South Pacific, in which case I'll have a look at the picture in front of me and I'll say, all right, I need this, 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 and this, because that's what I'm seeing in the picture. But it's the same if you were to go outside and see. You look and see what you can see. I grew up in Australia, so the colours are very different to the ones that I used for Germany, where I now live. So, you know, you've got to use your favorites, and it's absolutely okay. I mean, you don't have to, but you can always use colors you hate. That seems like a good idea. You know what I mean. It's nice if you can put your favorite takes on things. And sometimes you will look at a green. I look at greens sometimes here at certain times of the year, and I'll change them because it's got to be a dark green. But the dark green that I'm seeing, or the dark brown, is not the dark green or the dark brown that I want to use. So you can totally tweak things like that. Like if something's black and you're thinking that's just going to be too dead in the painting, something like Mars Black is a really good alternative because it's not dead. It's got all sorts of colours in there. Autumn Brown is another Derwent Lightfast one, and again a really nice rich sort of brown, and that features in my work a lot. This one is something that I don't often use, my Faber-Castell Polychromos, but I do have them. I have the full set. Of course I do. I've got full set syndrome. How could I only have one or two? I've even bought the colours I don't like. And open stock, so there's really no excuse. This is dark sepia, and it is again a very nice deep dark brown. So winter for me has high drama. We've got some of these pale colours and some really pale beigey colours, and then we've got these deep, deep, dark purpley browns. While we've still got pencils, Chocolate by Derwent Drawing. This one is their older range, so the original one. So for those of you who are living in areas where the new colours haven't reached you yet, my commiserations. They're coming, I suspect, but there's been such an overwhelming response to them. I think that Derwent Drawing might not have seen it coming. Or Derwent may not have seen it coming, but this is a really nice one, and this one's Chocolate. And Warm Earth is the last one, which is very allied to the Raw Umber Caran d'Ache one. It's different enough for me, well, apart from the full set syndrome, which means I'll buy anything. Yeah, if I want to get rich, just open an art shop and tell me where it is. You don't need both of these. You don't technically need both of these. You can have either or. And if you did choose between the Polychromos by Faber-Castell or the Derwent Lightfast Mars Black, I would take the Mars Black every time because, like I said, it can be a dark brown, it can be a black, or it can be a purple. This one's just a greyish brown. Perfect for trees, though. Okay, this one is Caran d'Ache Neo Art 6901, and this one is Sepia. Again, a nice, really rich, dark brown. All of these are colours that are useful at this time of the year for creating drama. Right, whilst I've got these here, I've got some inks to spill or put my fingers in. Oh, it's okay, I've got another pan pastel as well. I'm going to put my fingers in that. This one is Antelope Brown by Dale Rowney FW. Can I get the lid off? Indeed, I can. It's another one of these chameleon colours. It can be lots of things. Gosh, I haven't got any on me yet. Don't worry, it'll come. This one is a green, a yellow, a gold, and a brown. All in the one. And it's lovely. It is so useful. Aha. Here is the spot that I knew I would get on me somehow. Don't worry, I've got brown here. This will go everywhere as well. This one is really useful, and it's the one I used on that snow scene, which I can't find or reach anymore. But that was the one. Sorry, just moving my chair there. Found the snow scene, reached the snow scene, and actually have it now. All of these little marks here are made with this antelope brown ink. It's incredibly useful for winter painting. I just put that where I can get it again, if indeed I decide I need to. This one is Raw and Klingner traditional ink. It's Bister, which is a deep dark brown. Love both of these because I can use my dip pen to get some really nice winter leaves. Branches. Yep, managed to get it there. Again, you can see the purple browns here. It's another beautiful, beautiful brown. So always worth popping into the list if you're after a brown and you're not quite sure which one to get. I really recommend that one. This one, it depends how you water it down as to which color you get. Like I said, it's greeny color, and it's got that gold and yellow which goes with the golds and on this side. So depending on how much of it you use will depend on which color reveals itself, which I think is incredibly exciting. Probably means I need to get out more. I've got my same watercolors out again because I keep my browns, yellows and oranges together at the moment. This is Michelot Mud. No, it's not. It's bronze brown. Don't listen to the idiot. This is bronze brown, which is a purpley brown. Again, I'm loving the browns that have this purple coming out. Because in a lot of ways, the purples coming out of these will go with the set of purples, and the golds go with the golds, and altogether they harmonize beautifully. Mud Umber, another Michelot. I do hope I'm saying that right. Please, if you are a Spanish speaker, do not faint dead away. This one is extraordinarily similar to the Antelope Brown ink, but different enough. And it's also different enough in type of actual product because it's being watercolor, I can do things with it that I can't do with an ink. And of course, with an acrylic ink, I can do things that a watercolor just will not do. So it's cuts both ways. The next one I want to show you is Mars Black by Winsor & Newton. And this one goes very nicely with the pencil, again for layering. It's a nice dark brown. Technically might be a black. You could use it as a black, and people do. I use it as a brown because sometimes you need a brown that is so deep and dark. It's unbelievable. Right, that's that lot. Let's grab on now to, this is a pan pastel. It is Raw Umber Extra Dark. I knew that, but I needed to check. Again, for shading on animals and birds, it's really, really good. I've painted skies with this when I've wanted to get a really, really dark sky that isn't black. You know, if you've got a storm coming or something like that, it's just particularly good. Now, the other one, I think is in this one. Yes, gosh, got the right one. This is a Mars Black gouache, and it's one that I mix myself. I will put the recipe up for my patrons, and if you're interested in it, you can find it there. It's a very, very nice, rich colour that I've copied from the Derwent Lightfast Mars Black pencil. So those are the browns that I use, and I will use these in concert with beiges. Really quite interesting colours, some of them. In fact, actually, there is another one I wanted to show you here. This is a new one for me. This one is Isaro Shaded Beige. And I'm just going to pop this one in here. It's pink-ish, but it also goes with purples. And it's got just enough beige to go beautifully with all these others. And if you want to have an area that is quite a lot of member, as my patrons will know what that means. I do not want to swear on here because I don't want to be decommissioned, but If you've got quite a lot of mamba in your painting, this is a really good choice, and then these others go with it, and you get this, you can have a field of sort of wildflowers and wild grasses and all sorts of things like that with great texture, the sort of things that were alive in summer, and they may have had flowers, they've certainly got green leaves, but in winter they're still there, except they're dark brown and they're these sorts of pinky beiges and things like that. Perfect for that. Really, really useful. Right, the next one I want to do will be down here. I shall just do some tidying up here, and I shall get back to you. Okay, so we're on to greens now, which is the next set. And again, there are a lot of greens that I have, and a lot of greens are best for their time of year. Like, for example, the really bright acid greens, I wouldn't use them now. Unless I was painting moss. There might be some moss, especially if you're in an area where it doesn't snow. Then you can use things like that. But largely I'm going for these really dark, moody, dramatic greens. And I've got a couple here that I've mixed myself. And again, the recipes are on my Patreon. I'll put links below the, for my Patreons who see this video first, I'll put links so that you can see where to find them, because there are quite a few videos there now. But so there are some recipes there for this, and it's good to mix your own stuff because you know what you like, and you can either use somebody else's recipe, or you can have a look and see what you can see in the paint and mix it by eye, a little bit like playing music by ear. Or indeed you can go and have a look at the pigments and do it that way, and do it, probably that may be the easier way. Now, a bit ago I said about using greens that aren't exactly the green that's around. For example, let me show you this picture back in this sketchbook again. These fir trees. In real life, they were much more bluey green, and even though the deer wasn't there when I saw this forest, this is from a photo of a forest near us here in Germany. But I didn't want the bluey green trees. It's just not, it doesn't do for me what these dark warm greens do. So I changed it, and this is what I mean. It's perfectly successful. You can look at that and see what it is. So you can use your own ideas as to what you want to put into these things. So let's start with the coloured pencils again, since that is a bit of a convention. The first one I've got to mention, and this is one of about a dozen that I've bought of these. This is Forest. This is the best green ever. I love it. Bloody thing on. Right, so now I've gone and sworn. It wasn't too bad. Hopefully nobody will mind. Forest is the best green ever. This one is one of the new Derwent drawing ones, and I tell you what, I let out a cheer that would have taken the roof off. You probably heard it where you are, actually, when I saw that the new Derwent drawing pencils had come out, and one of my students said they have a forest in there. Because it was the same Derwent company who've made the original Forest, which is the light fast version, it won't surprise you to know that I have that as well. I knew that it would be very, very close, and it is. So why on earth would I want both, you might ask? Well, you don't need to have both, to be fair. If the money only runs to one, and goodness knows we all understand that, get the one that you need the most. But which is that? Well, the different properties of the two are as follows. Derwent Lightfast is, they're both pretty good they're both Lightfast, but this is the name of one of the Derwent brands is Lightfast. This is a thinner pencil core, okay? So the green bit is thinner, and the barrel, which is the wooden bit, is a bit thinner in the Lightfast, which means you can sharpen it to a very, very high point. It'll stay there for a bit longer. It is easy to use. It goes through over everything, a little bit like the Derwent Lightfast Mars Black. It will go over wax pastels and all sorts of things like that. It's really, really good like that. So this is one, that's the properties of this pencil. So maybe better detail, although I found it also shades beautifully. This one is waxier and creamier, thicker core, thicker barrel. Still use my Cum pencil sharpeners, which are the ones I recommend, by the way. And it's just, it's creamier and it takes less to get a really dense opaque covering. I've got both because this is one of my addicted colours. And I've got multiples because I do not want to run out. There would be problems on a worldwide scale if I ran out of forest. So I have both because that's what I've decided to spend my money on. But if you only need one, I would probably recommend the Light Fast, because you can go over a larger area with a smaller pencil where there's only so tight a corner you can get into with the thicker pencil. It's not a lot thicker, it's just enough. You can feel that it's thicker. It's a bit meatier. So really recommend those and recommend that colour. It is one of these greeny greys, again, a little bit like the Antelope Brown and the Mars Black. This can be different colours. So that's one for winter. This is another Polychromos by Faber-Castell, and this one is Green Earth. No, it's not, it's Earth Green. They keep changing it. Half the brands I've got are Green Earth and the other half are Earth Green. It's as close to a bluey green as I often get, actually. And it's really nice. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. So nice pencil to have. It doesn't layer over the others as well. These are good for, I do a lot of birds on pastel mat with these, the Faber-Castell Polychromos. Don't reach for them so often. Should do. Got some really nice colours. I think there's only so many art materials one person can find in a session. These are 3 Derwent drawings, and these are Derwent drawing pencils. These are from the old set, so these should be a little bit more easily available. But as you can see, they're 3 colour values of the same sort of green. So we've got this dark olive earth, and then with the medium crag green, and pale cedar, which is a lighter version. It's not really much lighter than the crag green. The changes are very subtle. These Derwent colours have all been formulated by the company in Northern England to represent the landscape of Northern England, and they really, really do. You don't see the dramatic highs and lows that you might see in a country with a lot more sun, for example, where you've got very, very light yellows, very dark browns, that sort of thing. The landscape in the north of England is a gentler, more subtle coloured one. And these colours are very, very good for that area because that's what the designers had in mind. So these are, with all the colours in my sketchbook and all the different things I do, these are the colours that are doing it for me. And 2 of them are the same. So we've not got a lot of colours here. Right, let's get the pan pastel out the way. This one is Chromium Oxide Green Extra Dark. Wouldn't you know, it's obviously a thing today with pan pastel. It's a nice dark one. One of you has horrified me no end by saying that this one is to be discontinued. I shall go and buy extra. Just going to pop the lid on it now before I do any extra damage with it, and wipe my fingers because I've managed to get it on my skin, and I don't leave art materials on my skin if I can help it. It's not a good idea. Right, that's a nice dark green again for making depths of colour. So that's the dry media here. Now the wet media, again with watercolour. One of my favourites, as you can see, I'm right down to the pan here, is the Van Gogh Dusk Yellow. Now don't be fooled, it is yellow, but it isn't. It's nothing like it. It's the most beautiful moody green, and I adore it. I use it almost every day, which is why I'm going through it. I tend to buy watercolours in a 5mm tube because it's a good price point, and you get 2.5 half pans out of a tube, and then I cut the tube open and worry away at the colour until it's all gone. So what gets thrown in the bin is just purely a piece of metal tube that's been cut open. So, but you get 2.5 of these, which is excellent value. This one is the next one. It is Japanese Bush Warbler Green by Holbein. So this is in the winter palette a lot. Now it must be said that this is not the only things I'm using. this video is about the main things, the favorites. What am I grabbing the most? What am I grabbing again and again? Not something that I've sort of, oh yeah, I remember I had one of those. Here, I'll use it today. Not that. This is the stuff, just about every picture. If you did a forensic analysis of my paintings day by day, you'll notice at least 10 of these colours in it. I do use a lot of colours. But the next one and the last one for this is another Holbein, which is again down to the pan, and it's Full Moon Yellow. And again, it's called a yellow. I use it as a green, and you'll see why. It's again a nice colour that could go either way depending on what you put with it. So I find that very, very useful. It's not going to be useful if it decides to go into the one next door. Right, now 2 that I've made myself. This one here is my dark green, and my students know this one well because they see it a lot. It is a nice, it's gouache, and I mix it with the darkest blue, darkest green and darkest brown that I've got. And it goes beautifully with forest pencil and this Van Gogh dusk yellow, that sort of thing. But it's not meant to be matching the watercolour as much. I want it to match the forest pencil. And it does. It's quite good for that. And if I use gouache, I use it quite watered down, so it's almost, it's just an opaque watercolour, which is effectively what gouache is anyway, but it's an opaque watercolour when I use it, and that's my go-to green. It's just got the right amount of warmth and greyness in it. This is my own mixture of ink. I've done this to match the green, as you will see. It's got a slight less, again, it's darkest blue, darkest brown, darkest green, all coming together to make an acrylic ink of my own making. As I said, I've got the recipes, which you are more than welcome to. These make up my greens, and they go really nicely together with all these other colours. So the final little group will be the purples. So I'll get those sorted out, and then I'll show you which ones I reach for the most with purples. Right, the last group is, oh, it feels like the smallest, but that's all because everything is called the same thing. It's all called Caput Mortuum. It's my go-to colour. If I had to choose one that I love above everything else, I mean, it would be a close run race between Forest and Caput Mortuum, but I think Caput Mortuum would just win. Now, the first one is a Faber-Castell Polychromos in Caput Mortuum Violet. This is going to get boring, trust me. This one is beautiful and really perfect for adding things to trees and random things. Like I said, what looks great in a winter's painting are the things that were alive and blooming with green leaves and new growth in spring and summer that are still there in the winter, but they're dead. So painting dead things, it's really, oh, you want to try labeling a YouTube video and not being sort of deplatformed. Sort of, let's paint dead things. Yeah. What I mean is grasses that are dead, poppy heads, the leftover seeds and hedgerow flowers like berries in the autumn. This carries you right through to the autumn, from autumn to winter. But berries and bishop's lace, Queen Anne's lace, that sort of thing, the seed heads that are left over from that, just grasses, dried things, shall we call them, rather than dead things. But I think you know what I mean. The things that once were living and now aren't, but they're still there. So these colours are perfect, and you can see how it goes beautifully with this Isaro watercolour. It's really a lovely, rich Caput Mortuum. And this one, let's have just a break off saying Caput Mortuum and say Burgundy instead. This one is Holbein. And this one is very similar to that one. You could argue you don't need both. However, they are slightly different pencils, and the Holbein Burgundy will do things that the Polychromos will not. It just depends what you're trying to get out of it. Again, I have both because, again, full set syndrome. If you've got full set syndrome and you've come here for a cure, I would say you should have taken the door on the left after the entrance, not the one on the right. We are the enablers section here. There have been no cures recorded from anyone with full set syndrome who's enrolled with my support group. So I'm doing really well. Chestnut. This is another one, Derwent Lightfast, and the reason I like this is not because I like the colour chestnut, it's because it reminds me of Caput Mortuum. I think you can see the mania here. We don't need all the same colour pencil. And here again, I love the Polychromos, I love the Holbein, but if I had to choose one, it would be the Derwent Lightfast because it's more versatile than the other two put together. It just goes over things, it does more. Now, the point that I often say, and I'm going to say it again at the risk of being boring, but the problem with what we're doing as mixed media artists is the manufacturers of these materials did not intend us to use them like this. So every time we combine different things in a different way, we're doing something that manufacturers didn't see coming. So if they don't work, it's not the manufacturer's fault. We have to try and find another way to make them work. I mean, normally if you buy a colour pencil and do colour pencil things with it and it doesn't work, well, it could be the manufacturer. But if you're going to put it over the top of acrylic, an acrylic gouache or pastels and things like that, especially oil pastels, and it doesn't work, well, no one said it would. And that's where learning is a quick shortcut to knowing what works. Experimenting. If you're at home with your stuff, just start experimenting and see what works for you. See what works on the paper you're using, because that can change everything as well. Right, taking a short break from Caput Mortuum, here is Holbein Raisin. And this is a totally different sort of purple. But again, it's really, really nice, and it's a very wintry colour. And these are the sorts of winter colours that make my heart quite glad. Now, confusingly, which we will get on to in a minute, must not forget it, it was over there and likely to get forgotten. No, that wasn't it, this one. I know what I'm doing, probably. Put it there. This is Grape, Derwent Drawing Grape, and it's one of their new colours. And again, it is a really beautiful classic purple, except creamy and rich. And this is what I need from winter personally, is all of this rich, creamy drama. You know, we've got it all happening here, but still within these four main colour groups. And as you can see, I managed to do winter without any blue and with very little white, actually reaching more for a bismuth white, which is a Caran d'Ache Neo Art 6901 colour, and it's just slightly off white, which also goes with all of these. There's also no black in here. I don't need black. While I've got some that are technically called black, but whilst I've got these rich dark browns and rich dark greens and rich dark purples, don't need black. So with combining with greys and one or two creams, this is winter. Right, confusingly, because all of the other Caput Mortuums are this reddish purple, this one is the other one. This, if I had to save one colour in my whole kit, it would be this one. It's Caput Mortuum Neocolor 2. It's from the dark set from the Caran d'Ache 50th anniversary sets. And again, I'm so scared to use it because it's wearing down. It's not worn down a lot, but I'm imagining it a lot more because you can't get it again, apparently. It's more like these two than the other reddish purples. And if you do this with it, which I do, it's just got this beautiful, rich, proper purple with just a hint of colour underneath that is reddish. And as you can see, if purples are going to be purples, this is perfect. Let's get the pan pastel out the way before I sit in it. Red Iron Oxide Extra Dark. Again, it is what it says on the tin. It's a reddish browny iron oxide, what you would expect from something called that. And it goes perfectly with the others as well. I guess, I mean, I've got a brown in there, and there are other browns that I use, but this is the one I reach for the most. This is the purpley red that I reach for the most. I'm still disappointed sometimes with green. See, for example, I have some wax pastels here and there in these other sets, but none for the greens, because there isn't a wax pastel around yet that will equal these dark, deep greens that I really, really need. My soul needs them. So that's sort of a gap. I'm actually thinking about mixing one myself with what we've got, because that's what I've done with these two to get what I needed. I would like to have another go at that and actually see if I can mix something. So watch this space. You'll find it here first. And there'll be a recipe, of course. Right. In the watercolour palette, there is a predictable Caput Mortuum. This one is Winsor & Newton Caput Mortuum. And again, it's got that lovely reddish, purpley look to it. Bit of brown. You can use this, you can extend this palette in so many different ways. And then I have got a Holbein Mars Violet, which is predictably a similar shade, but not quite. It's more of a violet, but although, yeah, not really. It's another Caput Mortuum. A little bit much on there. Let me just see if I can pop some more water in. You can see it a bit. It's not a granulating colour, but watercolour still needs a fair bit of room to float about in. This one is Gouache by Sennelier. It's Caput Mortuum. It's a new tube. I haven't used it very much, but I'm going to, because it's nice. And here we are again. Same sort of colours. Bit of water with it. Again, do you need all three? No, of course you don't. You can use your gouache-like watercolour. You can use watercolour like gouache if you want to. I've done all that. You don't need to, but you can. But if you're, you know, like I said, it's all right for somebody to sit here and say, oh, you need this, this and this. You also need to pay the gas bill and put food on the table, which is more important. And the point is, most of these things can do double duty and will gladly do it. For example, your Neocolor 2s, they're water soluble. So if you haven't got a lot of watercolours, you have got watercolours if you've got a couple of those. And they're usually a fairly decent price. I know here in Germany, where everything is pretty expensive at the moment, you can still get them for under €1.50. And they last for a while, but they're also watercolours. So, you know, you don't need both. This one is more of this Raw and Klingner traditional ink, just trying not to tip it too far. This one, you'll be surprised to know, is Caput Mortuum. And here again, it does a slightly different thing. Now, you'll notice how vibrant it is when you put it down, and inks almost always lose their luster a fair bit, which is a pity. It's sinking into the paper. These are stains. Watercolours will sit more on the top of the paper. Inks will go into the paper and stain it, which is why getting rid of them if you make a mistake is absolutely not easy. But yeah, so when I look at this here, actually, it's when I look at things like this here that I realise how very caught up in the moment I am when I'm ordering colours, because 90% of them will do double duty. Like I said, these three here, you really only need one. And if I chose one, I would choose the Derwent drawing, even though it isn't Caput Mortuum, this one is. I would still use that one because it looks very similar and it does a lot. The ink is different to the gouache and the two watercolours. But if you were to use, say, you know what, I think I'd probably choose gouache over all of them, because gouache will do things that the others won't. As in, it's opaque, it will go over things in a different way. Watercolours are more transparent. not always. If there's a bit of white in them, like the Osaru here, they won't necessarily, it'll work like a gouache. You can tint gouache with watercolor. Okay, you know, you can move things around and use them slightly differently. There are so many different ways. Right, I'm now going to dry this because otherwise I'll get my fingers in it. And we have one last little group that ties the whole glorious winter palette together. So I shall be back quite shortly when this is dry, and I'll show you which one that is. Okay, so there's not much room left, but we don't need very much. There are one or two colours left that I want to put in here that tie these together and form bases for my work. The first one, let's get the pan pastel out the way, because I thought the ink would be the thing I spilled, but no, it's getting fingers in the pan pastel. Raw umber tint. It's not grey at all, but it works like a grey. It's a really nice warm grey. And that's one that I use for skies at this time of the year. It is something that I use for land areas if I need to, but more often water and sky, because they reflect each other. So even though pan pastels are expensive, they're highly pigmented, they last for ages. I'm not selling them. I've had to buy all these myself, trust me. This is just an endorsement from someone who's using them. This one, it's neutral grey extra dark 1. They last for a long time, and if you buy a sky colour, it will also work for water, because water is going to be reflecting whatever the sky is doing. So if you use these two colours in the sky because it's winter, it'll be the same in the water. So you don't have to buy both. This one is the dark grey, as I said, and this one is a really, really nice, almost black. I think it's the darkest grey that I could get at the time. And I'm just going to recap it so I don't throw it at the neighbours or something. Yeah, these two together work very well indeed. And they play into all the moodiness of the rest of these. This one is Caran d'Ache Sepia 50%. It's got that little bit of purple underneath it, which is perfect with these. And again, you can extend each of these sections. Some of them overlap this way, some this way. It's this way, no, and very rare here, but these all can play very nicely together, and certain ones of these will play into the greys. And that's how I combine them. Raw Umber 50%, also Caran d'Ache Luminance. It's another one. It's called Raw Umber. The pan pastel was Raw Umber Tint. I use them as a warm grey. So if you've got these and you think, oh gosh, I need a warm grey, these are a warm grey as well. And sometimes it depends what you put them next to as to what comes out. So those two are my coloured pencils. And then to wrap things up, we've got some watercolour. Schminke Desert Grey is something I use again and again and again. It is a granulating colour. It's one of their super granulators. Gosh, the PDF for this is going to be very, very tiny writing. That one, it's perfect. It really does make a huge impact when you're doing birds or animals. It's got a slight yellow granulation, which is really useful. Davies Grey by Van Gogh is the only other convenience grey that I've seen that does the same. It's really quite unique, this one, but that's the closest. And finally, Van Gogh Titanium Buff, which will just fit into there. And as you can see, or probably not see, you'll have to believe me that I'm putting some paint on here because it's quite light. That one is very similar to the Raw Umber tint there. Let me just pop this aside and I can pick it up to show you that there is actually some paint there. The shiny bit. That's all we're going to get. They're really nice neutral colours, and when you've got a few of these neutral colours, you can do absolutely anything with them, and that's what makes them so exciting. So yes, that's it really. That wraps it up. This is my preferred winter colour palette, and as I said, you know, if you looked at this here, these are all just as grey as these are, even though they're solidly browns and all sorts of things like that. You've got just so much you can do in the dark days with this without black, without white, and without blue. I'm not against black, white, and blue, and if I need it, I've got it. But I just wanted to see how much I could do without it. And the answer is a lot. There's a lot you can do without it. So yeah, these are beautiful colours. Let me know what you think. And like I said, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and do join my Patreon if you've liked what you've seen here and what I do with things and would like to know more. I would love to see you as well. Lovely community over there, and you will receive a very big welcome. Everybody does. So yeah, let me know what you think about the colours. Are there any you would add? Are there any that you would have, that were surprises that you wouldn't put into a winter palette? And yeah, I shall see you again very, very soon. Bye for now. Bye.